Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of using Pandas in Jupyter Notebook and the interactive. You get to understand the interactive nature of Jupyter Notebook and how Jupyter Notebook make it perfect for exploring data analysis with Pandas. All right, so let's get into it. One of the things you must know is that Pandas is a powerful data analysis library for Python, and Jupyter Notebook is an excellent environment for working with it. I'm going to give you a comprehensive guide to using Pandas in Jupyter Notebook. First, you will need to install Pandas. In case you don't know how to install Jupyter Notebook, you can check the video description or at the top here and you will download Jupyter Notebook. So here I want to start installing, so I'll do pip and then I'll do install. So once you do pip install Pandas Jupyter, and then I will hit shift enter, then the installation should start. But I already have a Jupyter Notebook running, so let's see how it goes. And I also have Pandas installed already, so let's give it time. Now, in case you are new, like I said, after installing, you might decide to install it on your terminal before you start Jupyter Notebook, which is ideal. All right, so you are seeing the requirement already met because I already have Pandas installed. Now, the next thing we need to do is the basic setup. The first step is setting up in your Jupyter Notebook. How do you set up? So the first thing is to import what you have just created, something like import Pandas as PD. So this is a standard way of importing library. All right, so if it is NumPy, you said import NumPy as PD, but since we are dealing with Pandas, it will be import Pandas as PD. All right, now how do we now what's the next step in setting up? So we can decide to display our setting for better view, something like this. So what are we doing here? So we are setting the options that it should be display maximum column and then maximum row. So we are limiting the display to maximum row of 50 and maximum column to none. All right, so this will help us help your display and how you render your visualization, right? And this is also very important. You can't display 1 million rows just like that. You will need to have at least a few rows that displays, right? So that's why we are limiting the maximum row to 50 and maximum column to none. Then another thing you need to set up is you can also import NumPy. So because NumPy is also used with Pandas, all right, so import NumPy with Pandas like this. So I can move it here, all right, instead of here I'll move it here like this. So here I'm saying that import Pandas, import NumPy. Remember, if I'm going to import NumPy, if I have other library I'm going to use, I will need to also install them. So I have already installed Jupyter, so I can just include NumPy like this, all right? Or you can just say if install Jupyter, include NumPy and any other thing that you want to install. That's before your video, but since we've already installed Pandas, you can go to the next cell and just import pip install NumPy like this. Okay, NumPy like this. So this way you have been able to install, you will be able to install. Now, having done this, the next thing is how to create your data frame in Pandas. How do you create your data frame? Like this. All right, so this is a dictionary data that is going to take names, age and city. So each of them is Alice, Bob, Charlie, Diana, and their age is 25, 30, 35, 28. Their city is New York, London, Tokyo, Paris, right? And then we are converting this data here into a data frame like this. So how do you do? You call your Pandas. This is a variable. The df here is a variable, and you are calling Pandas and calling the data frame on the data and passing this data inside the data frame so that the conversion can take place. So this is how you can convert a dictionary to data frame. You will need to declare the path that your data is located. So this is how you can convert a data into a data frame, and this is how you can read your CSV file, right? Then you can also read from an Excel file. Okay, for you to read that from an Excel file, all you need, you do the same thing. So or if I'm going to copy this and just change it to Excel, so like this. All right, so this is how you can read from different data type. So first your conversion takes place. All right, you are converting from a dictionary data to a data frame, and then you are reading from that data. All right, and then you can read this, how to read from a CSV file, this how to read from an Excel file. Now the next thing I want you to know is this df here is a data frame. Okay, so it displays the data frame, a variable that displays the data frame, right? Having done that, we can continue. So if we want to see the first few rows of our data, for example, we can come here like this. Let me make this place work. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to comment this out so that I'll just use this data here. So and then I'll load it, and then here I'll also load it. So can you see? So this is how you can view, you can use your df. So the df head here, we are saying that show us the the row. All right, so you can see the head. So it's going to show us the first the first 10 value we have in our data, right? So this is how you can use your data. Okay, all right, this is how you can try to understand your data. So, and then if we want to view the last few rows, for example, so that the display will be different. So you can see, so remember we don't have much data, it's just how many data here. All right, the data here are not much, so you just give us, but then I want you to know that this tail here will view the last few rows. Then we can also get the information on our data by using the dot. All right, so the conversion that is taking place here, this is the variable that is holding them. Okay, so if we want to get the data frame information, we can do a df.info like this, and we can hit enter, and then you can see the information that is giving us. So there are 4 entries, 0 to 3 data columns, and the total column is 3. All right, so the column is name, age, city. All right, the non-null count, we have 4 non-null count. Why? Because these are the text that you can see there. All right, then all of them are the data type. They are all object. Okay, they are all object. So the integer is 1, object is 2, memory usage. So all of the information you need to understand about your data, you can use the .info method to get it. Statistics of your data like this. So you can see that is the count, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum, the 25%, 50%, 75%, and maximum data. So this is how you can get information about your data. All right, then you can also know the columns. If you want to get the columns that you have, you do df.columns like this. Okay, you do columns like this, and when you hit enter, so the columns is showing name, age, city, and the data type is object. All right, so this is how you can the basic operation you can perform on your data with Pandas. Now let's continue. We can also do data selection. All right, let's say we want to select a single column, for example. What do? We can just do df like this, df, and pass in what we want. So let's say we want the name, for example. So we'll just carry name here and bring it here like this, and then we close it with the square bracket. So when we hit enter, so it will list out all the names in your data set. All right, so name will give you name, data type, which is object. So the d type you are seeing there is data type. So this is how you can get a single column from your data. All right, so you can see that we wanted a single column, we pass in name. What if we want multiple column? It will look like this. So now this time we are carrying a double square bracket, not single, like you can see here. All right, so you can see we have name, age. Okay, and then when we hit enter, so now age has been added. All right, so this is how you can get selecting multiple columns in Pandas with Jupyter Notebook. Then we can also show you how to select rows by their index. All right, so if you want to select a row by their index, you can select like this. All right, remember that this index here, we just have how many? We just have 4. So if I specify 2 here, and then I specify 1 here, and I specify 2 here, let's see. All right, so can you see now? All right, so this is how you can get your data. So we have Alice to New York. So the first one is the index 0, index 1, and index 2. So this is how you can get you can select rows by their index. All right, then you can also select row by condition. Okay, so here you are saying that the age, if the age is greater than 30, okay, that is the one you want. And if the age is greater than 25 and the city is equal to London, so here you are not being specific. Here you are very, very specific of what you want to get returned. So if we hit enter like this, you can see that only Bob meets that criteria because Bob is 30 and his city is in London. All right, so this is how you can use Pandas to get to select rows by condition. So now let's move on to data manipulation. Let's say you want to add a new column, for example. Since you are not specifying a particular person, you want to modify their information, you can just pass in their salary like this, because this is coming in as a new input and with their values, right? So once you do this, you now have a new data, a new value added to your a new column added to your data. Okay, so and if you want to modify an existing column, for example, so look at this here. We have age is equal to, and then we call the age, and we are adding +1. What are we saying? If you look at the age column, where's the age? Okay, we are adding 1. So let's even print it to see what gets returned. Should be able to return something. If not, I want us to see the age. So I'm going to bring this here. All right, so can you see now? So before we have Bob was 30, Bob is now 31. So it has added 1 to each of their ages. All right, every single one of them now have 1 year added to their years. All right, so this person that is 25 is now 26. The person that is 30 is now 31. The person 35 is now 36. And this is how you can modify an existing column. Then you can also apply function to columns. All right, let's say we want to apply lambda function. The lambda function is an anonymous function. If you have watched this video to this length, please kindly like, subscribe, and share my video. Thank you for helping me to grow. So we want to double the age by 2. All right, so how do we do that? We can apply lambdas like this. So where we call the age, it will create a new column like this, and then we pass in the age and call the apply method and apply lambda function, because the lambda function will be able to help us multiply each of these by their age. All right, so now when we now print our, let's print our data. Let's use tail to get our data. All right, so now you can see that we now have a new column and with the age double. Okay, 26 plus 26 will give you 52. 31 plus 31 will give you 62. So we now have a new column with the table, with the value a double of their age. So this is how you can apply functions to columns in your data. Okay, if we want to group our data by age, for example, okay, so we group them by their city, age, and we find the mean. Okay, the mean of the age group. Or we can also group them by city and then aggregate them. Okay, that means we want to get the sum of their age, the mean, the salary, and the total sum. All right, like this. So you can now see that we now see London is having 31.0 in terms of their age and then their salary. So this is how you can see, you can group your data. All right, so you can group it the way you want and arrange it the way you want it to be. Okay, so here we are getting the mean. All right, let me do something so that this can be clear. So if I comment this out and I only get the mean, so this is the mean. All right, London is getting 31.0, 26, 29, 36. That is the mean. But then if we close the mean and then open this, so and we hit enter, so it gives us the total, the age total, the mean, and the salary, the sum. All right, so that is how you can group your data, right? Then you can also sort your values. If you want to sort the age and the city, we can do something like this. So do you see? All right, this is it. Okay, so it's setting as a what ascending order is equal to first, meaning that it should send that descending order. All right, so this is how you can sort your values and also the city, the age. Okay, so this is how you can do it using the sort value method. Now there are situations that you will also be dealing with. You will also want to be handling a missing value, which is very, very important in any data analysis. You will need to handle your missing value. So how do you handle your missing value? This will tell you which value is missing. Okay, so the name is 0, city, so integer, the data type is integer, the double age. So this is showing us the places that we are having a null value. All right, now if we want to drop a row with missing value, what do we do? Okay, so now can you see now? All right, can you see? What can you see that has changed? Can you see that has changed? We have 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, there are 4 values here. So apparently nothing has changed here. Okay, it's still the same data we are doing. Why? Because we don't have a null value, and that is why you are seeing this 0, 0, 0 here. All right, so there are no null value in this data set. All right, so if there are null values, this is where you use the is null method to check which is having null and then sum it together. All right, so but then we don't have a null value in this data set. Now if in case you have a missing value, okay, all right, so this is how you can use this to fill missing values. All right, so you can use this to fill in missing value. Now let me show you some quick Jupyter notebook tips. All right, for Pandas. When you are using Jupyter notebook for Pandas, here are some useful tips for Pandas. Now I want to use the tab to complete column names. All right, because I want to get the column names. So for me to do that, I'll do df and call the dot and then specify square bracket, and then take my cursor inside the square bracket and hit tabs. So now this is going to show me all the available columns and methods. All right, so these are methods that I can use. There's absolute method, all, any, arithmetic error, ASCII, assign, bind, whatever. Okay, so these are different methods that I can use, evaluate, enumerate, all the methods that you can use to manipulate your data, right? Now we can also display multiple output in one cell. All right, if I hit enter, so I'm going to import the interactive shell and then call the node interactive, and I'm going to use the all. All right, so what does this do? This will display all multiple output in one cell. Okay, all the multiple output in one cell. All right, so this is how pandas can these are some of the useful Jupyter tips for pandas in Jupyter Notebook, right? And do DF memory usage like this. All right, we have index of 132, name, age, and then you can see the memory space that they are taking behind the scene. So I'm putting everything that we've done so far here. I want to get the data shape, the column information. This is everything put together, and then if I hit enter, so this is what we are going to get as an output. All right, so first is going to show us the information about our data, which is this is what we've done at the top there. Then secondly, it's going to fetch us all the first 5 rows of our data, and thirdly, it's going to give us a summary of our data like this. All right, where's this one coming from? The month. Yes, we don't have month. We don't have month in our data, so we remove the month. Okay, so we don't have month in our data. That's a big mistake there. All right, so this is how we can do our data visualization. This is how to use a Jupyter Notebook with pandas, okay, for data analysis. All right, now we can also export this data. We can also export this data to different data types. I mean, to different files, right? So we are converting what we have. We are converting what we have to Jupyter, to CSV file. Okay, process data.csv. Now look at what we did here. Where is that? So you can see, before you can read from a data, you can see what we did here. We convert it to Dataframe, right? So if this must work, we need to conversion has to work. So here I'll come here like this, and then I'll convert this, okay, to a CSV like this. Okay, and so when I want to read it, I will read it like this. Okay, so I'll come here and change the name from data to process like this. Okay, and once I hit enter like this, so you should be able to read the data. All right, the same thing here. Okay, so if I convert it, because this conversion has taken place, all right, I'm converting it to CSV file. I can also convert it to Excel file, like this. So I'll come here and then I'll say to Excel file, and then I'll process it like this. All right, so this is how conversion will take place, and then you can read from it. So you can read, just because you convert it to Dataframe does not mean you can read it. All right, so this is how you can do it. Okay, remember that you must have NumPy installed. Okay, have NumPy installed. Thank you for joining me to this video. If you are new to Python or data analysis, I have a course that you can get that can take you from beginner to pro, where I teach you Python, NumPy, and every other thing that you need to learn. And in this video has covered the basics of using pandas in Jupyter Notebook. The interactive nature of a Jupyter Notebook makes it perfect for exploring data analysis with Python. If you enjoyed this video, kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. I love and celebrate you. See you on the next video. Bye.